St Rita is a model for those in a difficult situation. She herself had desired from an early age to consecrate her life to the Lord, but she found herself obliged to engage in a different way of life, holy matrimony. But as we know, it was not a felicitous union. She was badly treated, but she obtained her sanctification by being hidden with Jesus there on the cross of a bad marriage. And she obtained the conversion of her husband before he went to meet his Creator. She was deprived, therefore, in a succession of events of both husband and her two sons in unpleasant circumstances, and she was free, and she insisted, and she wanted, and she obtained to give herself to the Lord in a quiet monastery in Umbria at Cascia, which is still there, doing the Lord's work quietly, but because of her presence, drawing hundreds and hundreds of souls on a daily basis to pray. It's also a place where, as it happens, we have the miracle of the strange page of the breviary of the priest who at Siena actually was in a hurry to go to give Holy Communion to a person who was sick and did not go through the proper procedure. He placed the host directly in the pages of his breviary and went off with himself. And what was his surprise when he found that the page was all covered in blood. It is there, that part of the page, right close to the body of the saint, for veneration. And the experts tell us that if one looks at it carefully, one sees a second miracle within the miracle, the face of the Lord. That's not the only Eucharistic miracle at Siena. It ended up there because of the link with the Augustinians, and also at Siena, at least they were. And the other one, which is perhaps better known still, and it's the centre of the Corpus Christi procession, which will happen shortly now. They have it on the Thursday there in Siena, when they carry not an ordinary consecrated host, but the miraculous hosts, le Sante Particole, which are there since 1730, when the sacred vessel was taken from the tabernacle violently by thieves. But after prayer and fasting, the cancelling of the Palio, which is a big event in Siena, they were found in a money box of another church, but they were not consumed. They were kept in case there was dust upon them, and they're still there to this day, kept in the church of St Francesco, and carried from there to the cathedral by the Archbishop and all the clergy, right through the ancient streets of Siena every year at Corpus Christi. I remember our Archbishop, the one who ordained us, preaching next to them one Corpus Christi procession and saying, "Why did the Lord do this for us at Siena?" And he went on, and he reminded us always about the importance of celebrating well and preaching well. Very good bishop, and also a brother to another good bishop, the two brothers Bishop Ronicelli. Open-minded enough also to listen to the Holy Spirit, because, at least in my case, he showed Italian goodness and flexibility without throwing spanners in the works, which could easily have happened, and things happened smoothly and well as regards ordination, without wasting time. But what of St Rita? It's a huge day in Italy now. this day, the blessed roses of St Rita, red roses, they're hugely popular. And people like the tangible, the palpable, the visible, the colourful in Italy. We take souls where they're at. If it's not broken, don't mend it. It's important in pastoral work. But then the saint who answers prayers of those in an impossible situation, the saint of the impossible. As it happens, I was involved from the beginning with the project of Augustinian Foundation in Romania, in the Archdiocese of Bucharest. The Archbishop there wanted a contemplative monastery, and he made appeal to Rome, and one of the two major houses there, that of Santa Lucia in Via del Cielo, the one who have that house is responsible for the Vatican Lipsoteca, which is the place where one applies for a relic. They are the ones authorized to cut them, encase them, and give the seal and the document. They, anyway, were the ones who made the foundation, and because of a close link with them, I used to be involved, and more than once I was there. In fact, in the pictures, these would be nuns in the early stages, and here again, the later stage. So we were able to witness what happens when the Lord is at work making a foundation. And there was a question of my getting involved permanently there as a chaplain. As it happened, it didn't turn out. But there was another occasion also when there was a real link with Romania, where in the Pre-Modern Detention Order we were involved with reopening houses after the crumbling of the communist regime, and therefore they wanted help. And there was an appeal there to get involved with Manuvara. A close friend of mine, who is now the abbot of it, was keen. We were close friends in Rome, but that didn't happen either. But Romania is an interesting bridge country which I got to know, and they do have this Latin-based language, the old Dacia of the Roman Empire, and it is interesting because of the influence of the East, even liturgically. They call it Svinta Liturgia, the Holy Liturgy, the Divine Liturgy, even in the West, and they have this respect which is there for the sacred presence and handle things well. We need our Eastern brethren. It's a bridge country. And actually the old title of Romania is the Garden of Our Lady. And the communists did actually tolerate the Eastern Orthodox Church, so prayer was able to carry on. Often there was a difficult situation, of course, underground, but at least in the East they have the real presence. But they handle it well, actually. In fact, I was talking at some length one time when I was there for a month. Actually, I was in that monastery the second time round, and there was a good French priest there from the community of Saint l'Evangéliste, and he was talking about things which he'd observed from being in Romania, for he was at Bucharest, and how he got involved with an Eastern Orthodox monastery in Bucharest, and he was impressed. And the abbot, the Archimandrite that he had known, died, and he was eventually invited to the funeral. So he went, and just calmly added 4 heures, 4 hours. So 4 hours of being exposed to the Divine Majesty does calm the soul down considerably. But he also made this interesting aside, that when he compared sometimes the Eastern Rite Catholic communities that were out there in Romania, although they had to suffer actually because there was a squeezing them into the Eastern Orthodox Church under the communist regime, but they were influenced by the West also, and he noticed that when it came to iconography, for instance, there was a depth in the unbroken ancient tradition of the East, which sometimes in the westernized artwork of the Eastern Rite Catholics there in Romania wasn't equal. And he actually made a little aside which was almost amusing, bande dessinée, cartoons. However, he was penetratingly aware, and he added also this comment about l'hésychasme, that this element of being bathed for 4 hours in liturgy did have this element of hesychasm involved. Hesychia in Greek is silence, but in the monastic language it's far more. It's the contemplative silence of the depth of the being, which is worked upon by the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit, in that calm, is able to operate. Less free is he to operate in electric guitars, clapping and noises. He is a God who needs access to a serene, receptive spirit who is not in command, but receiving, waiting a word, waiting an impulse, waiting for anything to move, rather like the poor person at the pool of Bethsaida who was waiting for the waters to move. The first mover was God and not man. And so one night after Compline I was about to go to bed, and the then Superior came with a relic of St Rita and gave me this, adding just one word, that she may bring you back to us. And it hit me, Romania could perhaps be my country to be. As it happens, it was not to be that way, but there's still a close link with Romania, and Romanians come here and pray hard. With regard to this, it is important to be aware that if the Lord wants something to happen, we have to let him be the proud mover. I've noticed that he's not short of means. Sometimes we program things and they don't have any effect. At other times something comes to us objectively out of the blue and it just works. Why? God wants it so.